Hello, welcome back to Equally Yours English. I'm Christina.
Hi, it's Claudia.
And we're coming back to explain and complain about some really common but really annoying words that we probably use more times in one day than we can even count.
Too many. I've used these all the time. But how you? How are you?
I'm good, sorry about that. I was problem solving because my dog was just screaming outside. Now that it's dog screaming weather, he can't allow the children to play, so the
I
children got
know.
screamed at.
Listen, he's not an old man as of this point yet.
I mean,
He's middle aged right now, right?
all right. Yeah, I'll go with middle-aged. He's not quite geriatric, but he's he's getting up there. So he's just more crotchety, like as the days go by, as the sun gets warmer, as the winters get colder, as the dogs get younger.
Those
So,
damn puppies.
but yeah, I was working today and I had some downtime. So, I have this upcoming trip in
Yes.
a couple of months. So, I was playing around with Chat GPT AI to create some like itineraries and to help me map out my dwellings and like how long it takes to commute from place to place. Listen, this is the way of the future. This is it. I'm using this for everything all the time. It just makes stuff so much easier.
I hear you, but like, I don't know, part of me I do enjoy planning the trip just like I know you do too. But like I get the convenience of having this tool. I do.
Oh, I'm still planning my trip because I get to be like, I don't like that iteration you just produced. Take out this sightseeing thing, put in this, and tell me how long it takes to get from A to B.
Maybe I'll try it when I go to Iceland eventually. Who knows when it'll be. Still not booked. It's stress, but it's fine. Full disclosure, y'all. I was supposed to go in December to Iceland, all right? And basically weather said, "Girl, you thought." Because it canceled the first one and then Iceland Air they rebooked us and everything that Sunday, and then we kept getting delayed and delayed. So finally, we were just like, you know what? Let's not. Let's not go through this possible will they won't they go to Iceland. Let's not think about this. Ooh, what if they cancel when we get to the airport? Or better yet, what if we get stranded at the airport with all this snow that's happening over there? So we canceled it and we have yet to rebook it. So hopefully August. I already got the days.
Yes, you do got
I
those
don't know what
days.
days. I don't know what days, but
But I got them.
but I got
I don't know
them.
what days they are, but I got them.
But I got them. Like my manager knows that I'm going, so that's all that matters.
Does your manager know that you're going there?
They do. They know I'm going there.
They're aware that you're going there on their company time?
Indeed.
Wow.
Wow, Sagu. Look at that segue.
I truly enjoyed this week's preparatory phase. So I'm looking forward to dissecting the word of the week or the words of the week. Oh, actually, I posted a poll before. I wanted to see if anybody had a guess as to what our words were. Let me see how the poll's doing. Hold on.
Pray.
So I can put the poll on the I guess on the screen for anyone who's watching this, but for everyone else, I said guess this week's word of the week. That's so sloppy. Why did I say it like that? Guess
I
this
don't know.
week's word of the week. So it was either see and see, like ocean or vision, there, and there, temporal prefixes, or diminutive suffixes. It could go in any direction with us.
It really could,
So
but
far,
it
the
missed.
theirs are in the lead.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what we should do? We should recap what we did last week. All right.
Let's.
So last week we discovered the secrets of the 72. I lied, 76. But who's counting marginal C's through Christina's plight being continent? We came to the conclusion that the similarities between the two continents comes down to mass, aka maintaining the mass of the bodily fluids within, and the actual large mass itself being the continents and the land. And overall, though, we agreed that unfortunately, this word is actually helpful, despite how upset it makes Christina.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about that conversation for a while. So it was in my dreams, like thinking about, wow, she made those two words work in a way that they shouldn't work, but that's the BA and BS for you. So before we jump into this week's target words, our word group of the week, there's just a little bit, some key history we need to discuss that particularly revolves around the history of English and how it developed over time and the derivative root languages that we haven't quite talked about just yet. We mentioned them in our first episode. So shout out TED Talk, Generalist Papers, Oxford International English for the research that we're about to impart unto you.
Yeah. Also, my manager caught me doing these notes during during work today, so hopefully they are beautiful. It's okay. I'm not in trouble. I still have my days in August, though. Don't worry. Everything's fine. So, essentially, when we're talking about the history of the English language itself, there are three main sub English categories that we need to talk about, and that is Old English, Middle English, and Modern English. Those are the three main ones. Also, Modern English is not what you think it is. Just letting you know. So, Old English, that is the time period of the 5th to 11th century. Now, this is the base for the English language itself when you subtract, like, the Greco-Roman roots. This derives from Germanic tribes. They were called the Jukes. I said Jukes? Jukes? Like a jukebox? What is wrong with me? Anglos and Saxons. And eventually, Anglos and Saxons, they joined forces, and then they become known as the Anglo-Saxons. I'm pretty sure you heard that in history class. And so, Vikings also added to Old English as itself with words like sky, law, bag, and then also some other words that are old as shit. Would be that lovely three-letter word, the, water, and child.
In German, water is Wasser, but in Latin, it's aqua, like aquarium. So you can see that we don't get it from, or Aquarius. That is not where water came from. Water comes from our older root. That was the word that our English-speaking ancestors had first before the Greco-Roman influence.
And so really the only true documentation that we have are Anglo-Saxon ruins and the epic poem Beowulf. So in the notes I've included like images of these examples. And I'm going to read you a little bit of Old English. I'm going to try. I literally wrote it phonetically in my notebook. And it's going to be great. So, if you want, you can read the English translation after. So, this is what it sounded like. Kind of, maybe. We don't really know. Hoyt we Gardena in Yardagrum Theokoninga. Would you like to read that translation?
Yes. Also, remember when I said I like to now use ChatGPT for everything?
Facts.
Are
you telling me that my
I'm literally
of Old English wasn't good enough? Because hello, I wrote it down and everything. I think it's amazing.
I made ChatGPT show me how to pronounce these words. Y'all ready? I only did a few of them because I didn't feel like writing all that out. So the very first word in the very first word of Beowulf is spelled in Latin letters. So the letters we use HWAE. T. If you've seen like AE, like in Aeneid, that's the AE. So that's a phoneme that is ah. So, or like man, that's the sound of it. So ChatGPT has confirmed that this is actually what?
Yeah, but that word doesn't mean what. It means listen.
Except that works because you're calling someone's attention.
Correct.
Quasi.
Quacked.
Quacked. That's wild. So that translates to listen. But it's like, you know, like in oral tradition, it's like, what? There goes this and that. You know, you were there. You were there at the fireside circle. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Back in the 5th century. Yeah, totally there. Yeah.
You there. What? Pay attention, right? Anyway.
But girl, that is so
AI.
much. We're already overwhelming them with information today.
I know. Yeah, this isn't like the
that's
how to read the Canterbury Tales tale.
Excuse me, the Beowulf, get it together.
Oh my god, that's the next part. I'm sorry.
Wow.
So the Anglo-Saxon runes we actually know how to pronounce is what I'm gathering. And a lot of the words sound similar or bring us to the English versions that we use. So the era of Beowulf ends and we evolve into the era of the Canterbury Tales, which is where we find our Middle English version of English that we know and love. So if you actually are somebody who is studying like medieval writings or older English writings, you would find differences between the Old English of Beowulf and the Middle English of Canterbury Tales. I think you said Beowulf was between like the 5th to 11th century.
About.
Middle English, so Canterbury you would find this evolution of English between the 12th and the 14th centuries. So the changes were related to the conquest of the Anglo-Saxons by William the Bastard, aka William the Conqueror. Yeah, it depends on which side of history you're on, right? Was he the conqueror? Is he the bastard? So yeah, he was a bastard and he conquered the Anglo-Saxons. So this conquest brought on Old French. So we talked a little bit last week about how sometime was that with consonant or was that with moist? Oh, it was with moist. We talked about with moist how sometimes words seem to come straight from the Old French, which is kind of like, wait, I didn't know that. Well, this is because William the Bastard Conqueror came through and he dumped all of his French words into the language with his influence.
Every English major has been forced to memorize 1066.
What fell in 1066?
Exactly. That was the people responding, you know?
The people better have said the Roman Empire.
Yeah, that's what the people said. I heard it. Right? Good.
Right. So that's relevant because that falls between these two eras, actually. So this would see kind of like the dissemination of Roman and Greco influence as Rome became Rome in Italy as we know it, like with the Vatican, the language shift began to also take hold. And then we get all these words now thrown into the Germanic version of English. That's one. Plus already having been conquered by the Romans for centuries. I just bastardized that history, but William is the bastard. So in this time, we get like a huge focus on grammar and syntax. Syntax being the conventions of grammar on steroids. It's really like the sentence structure that provides meaning to the vocabulary you're using. So how your words are arranged in a sentence. So like in English, we have a subject, verb, object structure, right? So he runs away. The dog eats cranberries. I don't know why that was the sentence I came up with. Don't feed your dogs fruits unless you Google, can they eat this fruit? But the dog being the subject, eating is the verb, and then cranberries are the object. So that's our structure in English. German is similar, and Latin is similar. Other languages have different syntactic rules. So this time, with the overlap of the French or Normandy vocabulary, jumping into the existing Germanic Norse English, we now get synonyms. So we get like pig and pork, bœuf and beef, right? Cow, chicken, poultry, poulet. So all of a sudden, folks can use these words interchangeably, but also you could see how that could be confusing from community to community.
Also, it was very classist in that sense, because a lot of the people who would speak Old English or remain speaking Anglo-Saxon were primarily peasants, still working the farm, working with the pigs and the cows and the chickens. But if you were part of like royal courts, basically, you would be utilizing Old French. You'd be speaking with all these Norman words within your vernacular.
Yeah, the Normandy Norman words give off like this sophistication, and so do Latin and Greek derived words, right? And then maybe, you know, if you've been learning kind of a little bit about etymology, you've noticed there's, for some reason, like we have this innate like sense of unsophisticated when we think of Germanically rooted words, and this is part of that. It's definitely related to classism. So this is where the dialects come from. So dialects related to migration, slave trade, communities building around religion or national identities. And then, you know, if you were conquered by an older empire, you have that culture on top of the culture you're trying to preserve, if you still are able to even preserve that, so on and so on. This is the period where the Canterbury Tales were written.
So essentially, they are, I think, doing a pilgrimage, if my memory serves me right. And each person that is on said pilgrimage has an identifier, whether it's like they are the maid, they're the nun, they're the priest, they're the knight. And so each of them has their own poem to kind of like, you know, talk about them. Sometimes they'll even offer like a funny joke to the rest of the travelers. I would say passengers. That was, I mean, still technically right, but there goes my Middle English coming out again with these synonyms. Crazy. And so, you know, some of them are like super dirty, some of them are like super clean. Again, they each reflect the traveler that is going on said pilgrimage.
Yeah, the most notable one is the wife of Bath.
Yo. Love her.
The wife of Bath is the one most people who've encountered the Canterbury Tales will know, and she talks about women basically being morally similar to men in an era where that was not a vibe. This is what this sounded like. One that April with his shores soot, the draught of March hath pursed to the root.
I promise it sounded prettier back then.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is not why you're here. You're here for the next part.
Oh man, my boy, my man, Billy Shakes. Also, to y'all, you know, he's not your bestie like he's mine. You know him as William Shakespeare. So, believe it or not, he is considered modern English, much to the dismay of my students when I was teaching. Oftentimes they would complain that this is Old English, and I started laughing at them. They didn't understand why I was laughing because I didn't explain it, so they just thought I was crazy. But anyway, so the 15th century brings the biggest pain in the ass of all of our existences. Yeah, you guessed it. It is the Great Vowel Shift. All right. Now, obviously, because you guys are so smart, you already know what that means. Essentially, that means that this brought on different pronunciations and silent consonants, which is what makes English so difficult to learn as a second language. And so we have the word knife. You see how it's spelled in your mind, and like I'm sure in a joking way you've pronounced it as kniff, and in Middle English that would have been correct, knief actually. And so when early modern English came about, this pronunciation was shifted. The spelling was kept, and the pronunciation changed so that you say it's the way that you say it now, which is knife. And so essentially we're cutting out that K, and we're making that 2E sound into like an I.
I'm saying knief. The next time we go to a restaurant and I drop my utensils on the floor, which always happens, I'm going to ask the waiter for a knief.
Yes. And he's going to laugh at you and be like, stupid. And you're going to be like, no, you're stupid. Give me my knife. Thank you. Um, and then life will be best. Will be great and amazing at that point after you call the waiter stupid.
What is this spittle in my salad?
Not the spittle. I'm just thinking about that Eminem song, Without Me. Do you remember that music video?
With the spitting?
With the spitting and the onion rings?
Oh, yeah.
That image is just ingrained in my brain. Anyway, coming back to my man. So then, here we have two major events that happen. All right. One, it's the rise of the British Empire and the Industrial Revolution. Both of these transformed this language even further. So the rise of the British Empire, it spread English to other areas, and it brought in more words from the colonies. And on top of that, the Industrial Revolution brought about the printing press. You know, the one reason why we have books today. Which this caused the standardization of written language. Yes, I'm emphasizing that it is written language that is standardized, not spoken. And so if any of your relatives come to you trying to correct your verbal grammar, that is wrong. You heard it here first, y'all. Both peasants and the royal courts were learning essentially the same language, unlike during Middle English where they were very classist and keeping things more or less separated. Especially because now more people were learning to read and write. I'm not saying everybody knew how to read and write because I was still, a little classist, a little elitist. But more people were gaining access to things, and one of them being the Bible, amongst other things too. But Shakespeare is the best example of modern English as a whole. And so here we have Romeo and Juliet. Would you like to read it?
Sure. Am I reading the Shakespearean? All right, so let's see if I can get my iambic pentameter. Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean.
Whew. Spicy. I heard you dropping them Shakes bars. But anyway.
Not Shakes bars.
I said what I said. Listen, I'm a modern day Shakespeare. We already know this. It's fine.
But actually, just by going through three very notable written English pieces of literature, the difference is stark, and you can see why Shakespeare is absolutely modern English. It's just that he's using figurative language and like a poetic format.
Thankfully, the history portion is done, but again, like she said, it is necessary.
We kind of had to go through that to explain to you the derivation of the homonyms there, and there. Yeah, you know which ones I'm talking about. Spell them to yourself. T-H-E-I-R, comma space. T-H-E-R-E, comma space. They are contracted, so it's T-H-E-Y apostrophe R-E. Yeah, these have probably been driving you crazy forever, right? When you first learned how to read and write, when you first heard them, maybe you were like, why are those the same word? But only like in context do I know what they mean.
Now, story time. These would confuse the shit out of my students all the time. They would often complain to me saying like, listen, I know it like when we're doing it slowly and when we're doing it in class, but like when I'm writing an in-class assessment, I just write whatever comes first. And that would have been fine in Middle English. But right now, honey, we need to know the difference. And so even when we were doing worksheets, like it would kind of be split down the middle. Some would get just get it at the drop of a hat. Others would not. And this was at a high school level. And honestly, I think there's a combination of things going on there. I think one, it is general confusion, but the other thing is that now we don't have very formal grammar lessons happening in elementary school. I think we were more or less the last generation that had that formal teaching. But, that's just the American education system at work again.
I guess it's debatable, like, how much do we require that versus, like, does it help folks like us who like to do this research or want to share this information on a podcast to then be able to do that? I don't know. So Could probably use AI to learn too.
Likely.
If we look at the 3 words in question, 2 of them are pronouns. So they're, THEIR, and they are. So that one is obviously a contracted pronoun and a verb. They are, they're. So they both come from sa in the Old Norse. And potentially even before that, there was another fiera to the GPT. Hold on. So this is what I type in. I type in phonetic transcription for Old Norse, and then I write down what Google gives us. The Old Norse word would be þeirra.
Low-key, I thought you said Mjolnir before you were going to drop that Old English, and I was just like, yeah. I'm here for it. But wrong podcast. Stop that.
Oh, wrong pod. Maybe one day, but
That would be me, husband, spouse, and Vinny.
oh geez. So I forgot that I already looked up the phonetic transcription of sa. So ChatGPT just said, I'm sorry, it seems I already gave you that in my previous response.
Sass. That's rude.
Excuse me. So it's sa. So sa is the Old Norse for there, as in the pronoun. So them, plural, those people over there. Oh no, not those people over there. Ah!
So essentially,
those people. That
it
group
would be
of people.
like saw have a dog.
Then trickled into English and became them and they and that whole class of third person plural pronouns. So we know that their, as in they are, is the same. So it comes from the same place in the Old North, the Old Norse. Sa, the North.
I mean, when you said stark differences, I was going to say as stark as Ned Stark. Go off.
As stark as Ned. Wow, why did that happen? We're not talking about the verb to be, which is where are comes from, because that's a whole quest and a journey, and we're not going there. So we're just talking about the pronoun component. But it's important to mention that they are there is a contraction, but the pronoun is the one that we're talking about. So not without the verb, it is not a homonym. Does that make sense? Once you separate them and you break them into they are as opposed to their, they and their, THEIR, are no longer homonyms. English, you mess.
Hot mess.
So that's the Old Norse for the pronoun. Now for there, as in what's that over there? We've got Germanic Old English derivative ter, which then became Dutch dar to German da to English that and the, and then I guess someone slapped the re at the end of the to get there. Cool.
I love
Ironically, R, the sound is one of the hardest like speech sounds to produce, the R, so I don't know why that's the choice, but that was the choice. So when you're pointing to your dog over there in the corner, or you want that sandwich over there on the shelf, that is where that comes from. So they are both, all 3 of them have roots in the Old Germanic, Old Norse languages, and they've just been kind of passed along through the chain of Germanic words, and that's why they are short, right? Monosyllabic, like a lot of Germanic words are one syllable, kind of perhaps having that like less sophisticated sound than a longer Latin or Greek word, even though that's just representing class and also frequency of usage. We all use those pronouns all the time, so those are the easiest and quickest to say, and that's why they stuck.
Their spelling annoys me.
What?
Excuse me, I am listening. You got my attention. What? Oh, friendship. But yeah, like, listen, their uses and functions are not the ones that are in question here. What I want to know is why the hell we decided that this made sense. You know what? Same sounds, different spellings. It's going to be great. Everybody's going to know exactly what we're talking about.
That is, oh, I almost knocked my coffee over. That is where metalinguistics kind of comes into play. So when you're speaking, contextually, you'll know which there is being said, even if it sounds the same across the sentence. So, like the title of this episode, if you read it or you hear it, the context will make sense and you'll know which word is which and what they mean. They're their own enemies, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know which one is intended, even if maybe you can't spell them or you're not sure which is the spelling, you know which slots of meaning fill what space in the sentence. That is the meta part of homonyms and being able to infer what the meaning was, which is kind of go back to what you said before. Like, I don't work on spelling with my clients and patients because I think if you're able to convey what you want to convey, you're good. Because spelling, especially in English, is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So if contextually your meaning is clear, I'm usually going to let that fly.
That's valid. And quite frankly, looking at like the English regents, for example, and I told you this in the past when you were doing speech within schools, um, that the major thing that matters the most is like certain key things to hit with your, at least this is New York State, I can't speak for other states, but at least within the New York State regions that we need to take, you need to hit certain things, and like spelling, it's like looked at, but more or less it's like it doesn't really hurt you in any way if you misspell, at least if it doesn't matter to New York State. I'm just here being shady. I am not sorry, but it is
Yeah.
what it is.
But it's true. And as your history lesson pointed out, like we communicated verbally first. So if you're able to derive context and understand meaning with words, we have spelling, which kind of just throws in like another element of confusion. But if your meaning is there, that's what counts the most. Your intention is able to be expressed and understood by someone else.
Mm. I do also wonder if maybe, I don't know, part of me feels that yes, spelling doesn't matter in terms of you like speaking to somebody. But if you're writing like a dissertation, if you are writing a research paper, that unfortunately, if you are misspelling constantly, especially there, and there, then that will end up working against you. Despite you being well researched, despite you knowing your shit, it's still going to read as you don't know what you're doing, and then it's going to discredit you in some way. Which, personally, I don't think that's really fair.
The classism of language, because now literacy is a classist structure. But we know that there are things like dyslexia or things like didn't have access to school until I was 15, right? Like there are things that prevent that. And it's just a social economic product, right? Which is, as you said, unfair. But the idea behind you writing a dissertation and it needing to be grammatically correct and syntactically accurate and using all these tier 3 words is you're contributing to a body of standardized text, right? So you should be writing in the standardized version of the language you are using. But disadvantageous for some? Absolutely. Guess what? You can use AI.
Don't tell the people to cheat. What are you doing?
Grammarly, sponsor us.
Yeah, and then we'll stop talking about AI. Come on, Grammarly. Let's
Grammarly
go.
uses AI.
Shh. Let them know that we prefer one over the other. Grammarly, we want you. Come on. Like,
hashtag Grammarly.
Guys, just keep tagging Grammarly.
Thanks.
Until they finally get the hint. Because it's driving us insane. You know what? I'm going to tell you who my main plight lies with. It's that dumbass in the Industrial Revolution that was making this damn book to standardize English. I promise there's a point. Because of them, this is why we have 3 different theirs. That's who I'm blaming.
Blame Johann Printing Press. Oh god, that wasn't his last name. Who invented the printing press?
Well, it was also, wasn't it Gutenberg?
Johann Gutenberg?
Probably. Together we're right.
I love that, Claudia. That's so important. That's when you know you have a best friend. It's when together you're right. Together It's Johannes.
So with you you got us a half point, but
Gutenberg.
I got us the 1 point, but you got us the extra half.
Oh man.
You got us
Okay.
that teacher circle around the word with an arrow with the words almost.
Johannes von Printing Press, everyone.
Welcome into the Industrial Revolution.
And that's who's to blame.
Blame Gutenberg.
No, von Printing Press. That's who was.
Oh,
to
you're
blame.
right. You're right. I'm sorry. We can't speak ill of Gutenberg because then without him we wouldn't have book club.
Woo!
That's some deep cut.
Yeah, we'd be without him. We'd be sitting around looking at stained glass and discussing it.
I mean, we do that even now.
Well, should we rate these? Come again?
There,
what?
there. Stop it! I'm listening. I'm listening. What?
No. Hot. We didn't shift that vowel to what yet. It's hot. Shall we rate these words?
Yes.
These are 3 high frequency words, meaning we use all 3 of them all day, every day. We use them to refer back to names, right? They, so we don't have to say names. I think the functional usability is high.
She a high one. It's too damn high.
She a 3.
Big old 3. Big old. Pronounceability. All right. It's easy to pronounce when you know how to pronounce it.
I would say she's a 3 too. Okay, emotions. What is evoked?
Basic.
Nothing. Yeah, these are we call them function words. So they don't carry meaning where like moist carries a lot of descriptive meaning. Sorry to all. And all the continents, they carry lots of meaning. These are function words which could be like missed or omitted, or you could even use someone's name. Or instead of saying, look over there, you could say, look at the oven, it's on fire, right? Like, you don't have to.
Right. With these words, they replace nouns, or they're indicating some sort of location. They're indicating something, whether it's people, place.
Yeah, I would say low emotion.
Yeah.
Because they're just
a neutral bunch.
Yeah, they're a neutral group. I think the only emotions they elicit are just frustration when you don't know which one to spell out, but that's not what we're looking at here.
They're pretty neutral.
Wow.
I did that.
They are. You went there, you bought property, you ate. You left the crumbs there.
I passed go, bitch.
Passed go.
Mouthfeel, honestly, feels pretty comfortable coming out of my mouth. That's what she said.
Yeah, I would rate that high, like a 3. They are very easy to say, and they're great between words that carry more meaning, which is why we use them so much. They're very easy to just blend into bigger words.
Length. They're shorties. They're cute.
1.
Because they're mostly monosyllabic. 1.
Yep.
So, let's see. Specificity and connotation. So essentially their semantic impact.
So their semantic impact is semantic. So I would argue that it's low because, like you said, they are substitution words to make a sentence or a concept shorter. They require something that they're referring to, though. So, like, I wouldn't say their parents if I didn't tell you who I was talking about first, because you wouldn't know whose parents, right? Who do the parents belong to? Who do the parents belong to? I would say a 2, I think. I don't know. What do you think?
So here's the thing. Because once you specify, then that is giving them some sort of connotation, that is giving them some sort of specificity after you establish what it is that they are replacing. Yeah, I think I would agree with the 2, honestly. Because again, I think the argument can go either way. So a 2. There she is.
And finally, reliability to its Old Norse, Old Germanic roots.
I'm feeling a 3.
Yeah, I think the word clearly descends from there. It hasn't changed very much, with the exception of sa.
Sa could suck it.
But I can also make sense of sa becoming the, because the way you place your tongue for the S is right behind your teeth. And then all it takes to get the is moving your tongue a little bit more forward into between your teeth position. So the.
But my tongue goes further back a little for the. It's like
Oh, my dog's going nuts.
it's like the is here, but then the is here for me.
Exactly. So you're moving your tongue forward.
No. Like this is where my teeth are.
Oh.
Yeah. Like
Oh,
I'm
that's
going.
because you're from the Bronx and you say the.
Now I'm just gonna sit here all night, just going the.
Oh, I'm doing that right now. This is so when you're treating articulation, this is the this is the shit you do.
Yeah.
Because you find like what is the client saying, and then what should they be saying, and how do I move their mouth to position into that
So
desired shape?
the is kind of like a flick.
Yeah.
Thankfully, this set of words, this collection of words, yeah, sure, they weren't as offensive as the previous two. We felt like we should go easy on y'all. But next week we're probably gonna punch you in the face with the word of the week, and then after that, guys, we are done with Evelyn Hugo. That's all I'm gonna say for right now.
Speechless.
Rendered speechless while I'm having a book club with a speech pathologist.
Wow.
Said it's poetry. Overall, I think we cannot deny the functionality of this word and anything about this word. Really, the only thing that's working against it is really all the spelling differences and the confusion that can cause. But I think we all kind of agreed that it's a little classist. Von Gutenpress's fault. Yay.
Von Printing Press.
Von Printing Press. My apologies. I keep mispronouncing his name. But that's all for today's episode. Good luck editing this.
I was thinking that the whole time.
Listen, it's possible that this will drop on Saturday, and that's okay. Oh, I am low on battery. So, bye! The pod notes are available via Google Doc on our link tree, and tell the people where else they can find us.
You can find us on YouTube, on Insta, on TikTok. You should join. We're going to start posting bloopers there. Spotify is where our podcast is hosted, but you can also find us now on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music if you have a preference, or if you're on YouTube and you want to just listen in the car on your commute. Any of those work.
Honestly, we're hella entertaining to watch. So, but you do you. And you do what you can.
Yep. And our handle is evilly.yours.english pretty much everywhere. Follow us on Insta, and you'll have direct links to everything through our link tree. Thanks for listening.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.